Let's go, inshallah. Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. Jazakumullahu Khairan Sister Nusrat. Alhamdulillah. And please let me know, especially if you want me to raise my voice, lower my voice, if I'm going too quickly or going too slow, just let me know, inshallah. And so I just did it from last week's session as an introduction to our Golden Age group chat, community group chat, alhamdulillah. So it was voted, alhamdulillah, through the survey, people's opinions on choosing a new name. So our Golden Age sounds pretty neat, inshallah, as like a return for all of us to, inshallah, reunite or reignite the Golden Age, inshallah, for Muslims. So without further ado, inshallah, I want to go forward and switch things up with an Islamic reflection. And of course, when it comes to like bringing Islamic context in the history of the Golden Age, we should really look at the roots and the foundation of our history, which connects all the way back to the Quran and Sunnah. And so, from what we see in the Quran, highlighted in Surah Ali Imran, ayah 110, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, the first half roughly, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. كنتم خير أمة أخرجت للناس تأمرون بالمعروف وتنهون عن المنكر وتؤمنون بالله. This part translates to, you are the best nation or community or ummah ever raised for humanity. You adjoin or encourage good, forbid evil, and believe in Allah. وَتُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ. So I try to repeat and emphasize, the characteristics of us being inshallah the best of all nations, from Prophet Adam alayhi salam's time to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi salam's time. We learned that there are criterion, inshallah, for us to be, representatives of the best ummah, and that requires us to enjoin or encourage good and to forbid evil, and of course, ultimately believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in turn. And so, what does that mean, like to encourage good and forbid evil? Well, it's pretty clear from a normal layman's standpoint that when it comes to not just avoiding evil or forbidding evil for yourself, but also for others, which shows that us as Muslims want to prevent negative outcomes from occurring. But in turn, what's more important than that is that we encourage goodness. And so it's like, as we learned in YD, how we have a negation and an affirmation. What we're doing as Muslims is we're taking an affirmation upon good, and we're negating evil and forbidding it in return. And so that's something that's unique for us as Muslims, being advocates for justice, advocates of Islam, and inshallah, something that reminds us and emphasizes the importance of joining good and encouraging it in our lives is the Sunnah of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, where mentioned in the Sahihain, meaning the two Sahih collections, Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam says in a narration from Anas radiallahu anhu, none of you will have faith until he loves for his brother what he loves for himself, and likewise for sisters. And so this reflects for us, inshallah, the importance of enjoining, encouraging good, and it's actually a prerequisite of our iman. And so, inshallah, this is something I wanted to really highlight for today, to really be able to appreciate, especially nowadays when we come from individualistic societies. Sometimes, like, people may not really, especially even in our own families, sometimes people just want to focus on their own success. And so it could be just within their family, out of their community, or it could be out of their country, out of the world. But for us as Muslims, we unite as one ummah, and we feel the pain of any limb as if it was, as if the ummah was one body. And as we know from the prophetic sunnah, that we know that in turn we should be carrying holistically and to the best of our ability for each and every brother and sister in Islam, and likewise in humanity. But what we see, importantly, from Islam that distinguishes it from any other religion is that it avoids selfishness and instills selflessness to really help one another in this ummah. And so that's my goal, essentially taking the Quran and Sunnah together to really help each and every one of us to instill Islamic and professional development throughout our lives. And like while professionalism, can be isolated to society or the workplace, Islam is, holistic in every fragment, in every facet of our lives, and from birth to death, we really have to, apply, inshallah, to the best of our ability, our deen. So with that, and also, of course, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know, Sister Nusrat. But yes.
I'm listening.
Oh, okay. Jazakumullahu Khairan. Really appreciate it. So moving forward, this was like the welcome day review. So what I wanted to ask and what I've asked everyone from last week was to give their name, their contact in the sense of for connections in the sense of job opportunities or just networking with people that you find familial to your ideals or professional development. Let's say they're in the same field or work of study, maybe it'd be good for you to connect with them. So what I asked was to share your name, your contact, and to add in a bit more about their details of their field of study or work and the passions that they have in life, and also what they want to achieve in this group chat as goals, inshallah. So if you're willing to do so, I leave the door open for you to answer these questions, inshallah.
So, I think you know my name, and for my contact, I use primarily my phone number. As for my field of work study, I'm majoring in psych and bio, and what I want to do with that is, inshallah, become a doctor. And I think it's really important for us to have Muslim women as doctors for fields like gynecology and OB, so that Muslim women have someone they can rely on, even women in general, someone that they can rely on. And I'd like to, inshallah, be a person that vulnerable patients can open up to, especially in some of the most, when you're giving birth to a child or things, it's a very vulnerable moment and you need someone on your side advocating for you. And yeah, that's what I would like to do. And in terms of general goals, I just want it to be a safer place for not just women, for men too, and through an Islamic lens, where we feel that we can rely on each other to uplift us instead of, just, oh, you're sinning, oh no, that's fine, you do you. So I want an uplifting environment, and I think the medical field is a good field to start with, or even to go into with that. So I think that's it for me.
Okay, mashallah. That's really empowering, actually, mashallah. May Allah reward you. And with regards to mashallah, that's really, really enlightening, because I worked actually in a fertility clinic, and they were talking about OBGYN for a research fair that I was gonna attend. And I was thinking, subhanallah, there's a lot of females working in that workplace, but amongst the people there's my supervisor is a Muslim, and his wife works there too. And so I was subhanallah, to have even people within the same clinical setting, especially Muslims, and like being proud to be Muslim is something that is really awakening and touching, especially for like specific, like gender specific medical fields like obstetrics or gynecology. So mashallah, I look forward to inshallah being a gynecologist or at least a medical doctor. May Allah bless you and make you a Muslim leader in medicine.
Jazakumullahu Khairan. It's also, you hear like a lot of like horror stories about like you go to the ER and then women, they're like in pain, they're in so much pain, and then the doctor just says, oh, it's period cramps, and then she goes home, and then later a few months down the line she figures out like it's actually a form of cancer, or it's like cysts, and then she can't carry like children anymore because a doctor refused to listen to her and just brushed it off to period pain. So,
SubhanAllah, 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 it's really awakening. I feel like, mashallah, like especially I recall when Brother Usman, he like listens to mashallah, like your responses to questions is just like I'm on the opposite side and I'm like SubhanAllah. May Allah bless you. Honestly, that's really enlightening, and maybe to skim over some things, and it's actually mashallah, it's directly related to kind of like my approach. I'm also passionate in medicine, inshallah, and so inshallah, like especially because you're also passionate in medicine, I can give you like detailed insight, inshallah, on like how to essentially apply to med school and at least get a feel of to like especially maintaining your deen in the medical environment, because sometimes that's very tough. But inshallah, I look forward to definitely discussing more about this with you. Inshallah. Do you want to? I'm not sure. It's up to you if you want to, but to touch upon like passions and interests in life or goals you want to achieve, unless that was part of your background.
I think that was as a whole. I did mention in like the I3 thingy that one of the things specifically that I want to do is have like open up an orphanage in here, like a Muslim kind of orphanage where the most vulnerable people become some of the best people in the eyes of Allah.
Yeah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah, yes. SubhanAllah, mashallah. That's amazing. Actually, believe it or not, that's one that just like put me back out of all of the other SubhanAllah biographies or backgrounds that everyone else gave. So may Allah bless you. SubhanAllah. SubhanAllah. So with that, I was gonna touch upon, so bear in mind, something that especially when people try to like look at the balance of balancing your deen and the dunya, and I'm gonna show you a bit about like my introduction, a bit about like my like academics and extracurriculars and things of that nature. But something that like I really try to emphasize, and inshallah you'll do the same as well, is that whatever benefits or blessings, ni'mah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us with in the past, present, future, we collectively should praise, or at least collectively from what we've been blessed with, praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So alhamdulillah ala kulli hal, or praise to Allah in all conditions. And so I'm gonna briefly go through my introductions, inshallah. And so this is a bit about me, alhamdulillah, and praise always due to Allah. Something that I learned recently is that even though we say mashallah to each other, it's actually tabarakallah or barakallahu that we would say for people. But essentially, these are the different positions or affiliations that I have. Praise due to Allah. And of course, Rabbi Shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. But this is what I was talking about, Sister Nusrat. So I was working here, and this is the doctor's name is Abdul Manaf Sultan, and essentially I was working under him in embryology. And alhamdulillah, like it was an experience to especially learn about other people and social skills, because the environment was predominantly female. But alhamdulillah, I had different other positions, affiliations, Islamically in academia. So a bit about me, more detail is that I'm presently a master's student at UTSC, and I'm studying in the Cell and Systems Biology department. So that's like a tri-campus network. But presently, I'm doing research in osteoclasts, so like bone degrading cells. And alhamdulillah, I'm in my first year in this program. Last year, I finished my bachelor's in life sciences, so molecular biology and biotechnology. Alhamdulillah, I had my co-op work terms worked at Anova Fertility and Sick Kids for 8 months. So, and both were in the pandemic, subhanAllah. But alhamdulillah, there's blessings in everything. And always, when one door closes, by Allah's mercy, multiple doors open up for opportunities. And so I worked at UHN under the Field Lab as a research trainee, and I was given other opportunities as well, and some awards and like working in literature. And I'm actually going a bit more in depth than last time, so apologies if it sounds like it's boastful, but by no means is it.
No. It's very, subhanAllah, you know.
Don't worry, you'll outcompete me, inshallah. Trust me on that.
No. It's inspiring, especially since like I know that you're very like on deen and that you were able to accomplish like so many things. It's inspiring.
Inshallah. I really appreciate that. Alhamdulillah. Like it's very hard, especially like to sometimes people think that by like getting these opportunities or accepting them, it's like kind of like you focusing far more in the dunya, but that doesn't have to be the case. As long as inshallah you stay steadfast, and as Brother Usman pointed out, like the firmest ground hold or firmest stronghold for the Muslim in believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is something that we should continuously endeavor in. And that's why I just, without question, that's actually why I want to help everyone in reflections from the Quran and Sunnah, because it's a test for me as well. If I have all these opportunities and I'm being selfish just to get into med school, then that's a problem. Even if there are people that want to apply in my year, that doesn't mean I can't help others. And even I've spoken or heard from other medical students presently, and perhaps now they're near the end, like post-match day. Essentially, they were like always like try to collaborate, especially with like your peers in order to get into med school, not just compete with one another. So that's what from an Islamic viewpoint, I find like this is imperative for us, like to really appreciate the deen and to help one another, inshallah. So that's pretty much me. Alhamdulillah. And by the way, these are not all like what I do right now. Like right now, I'm like senior advisor here and
Can you
here. Yeah.
on
Sorry.
the can you speak more about the Springer reviewer thing?
Yes. Actually, that's a good point. If you had any questions, actually, even like on particular stuff, let me know, because I'm more than happy to go into more depth, inshallah. But the Springer Nature one is like I received an invitation to essentially be a reviewer. Do you know like what that means?
I know that like articles that are peer reviewed, and every time you have to like do research and stuff, I always wonder like how do how does this work? I just know it's peer reviewed because it's in a peer reviewed journal, but I don't know what it means.
Yeah, so that's a good question. Like essentially when it comes to reviewing, like you're working anonymously with and usually electronically with like 3 other reviewers. And so you pretty much grade the article, you give feedback, and essentially you with the other three or maybe two or so reviewers, you essentially decide on whether the article would be accepted for submission or it doesn't need to be edited like an extension. Because sometimes they need to be edited for like accuracy, scientific accuracy, if like let's say their data isn't actually significant, let's say their p-values are greater than 0.05, or like maybe their English vocabulary is off, maybe they need help in terms of linguistics um, or literacy, I mean, and it could be multiple things. It could be also technical questions that may be popped up by especially researchers or reviewers in that specialty. But alhamdulillah, like essentially I worked on an international paper or helped review one, and alhamdulillah it was a learning experience for me because it puts you on an editor's view side. Like it shows you the background essentially of what how important scientific accuracy is, as well as literacy as well. Alhamdulillah. But does that help?
Yeah, just did you have to like redo all the calculations and check like every single data point?
No. Usually it would be kind of brief. They give you a period of time to complete the review. I think it's 1 to 2 weeks. And but like you obviously like usually these people that are like scientists or reviewers, they also have like their other protocols and experiments to take care of. So it's usually like especially having three other hands or minds on, or three pairs of eyes looking on paper. Usually it's extensive by a single reviewer, but not to the extent that you're analyzing each and every data point. So like what I would have done was pretty much reading the article, but by like being pretty delicate or stringent on like the accuracy, the flow, and also just seeing like from a bird's eye view if the paper makes sense in its results, conclusions, etc. Because that's where essentially the data gets, not only the data but the conclusions gets dispersed or disseminated to the public and the community. And obviously, we don't want like inaccurate papers being published in any journal. So that's essentially what I was doing. Just it's not as extensive. Like it would be like having 2 to 3 professional TAs going through your FLR, like your formal lab report. I'm not sure if you've done that. Yeah. So it's kind of like that, but it's like really stringent. It's like imagine you're gonna publish your FLR in a journal. So it's like really being like articulate and making sure that your data makes sense in relation to your conclusions, like rational thinking, like the premises leading to conclusions. But that's pretty much what I have for that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Jazakumullahu Khairan.
Well, yeah. Well, yeah. Any other questions from what you see here, or should I continue?
I think I'll take up the whole hour if I ask about everything, so I'll bug you later maybe.
Okay, no problem, inshallah. At any time, if you have questions, just let me know, inshallah. Now, I just wanted to say as like a pattern as to what I do, continuing forward with, inshallah. Sorry, one moment.
That's not good for your eyes. You're rubbing so hard. Are you good?
Sorry, my bad.
No worries.
But essentially, yeah, sometimes I get a bit too much on the screen, and yeah, subhanallah. But inshallah, I'm just gonna like look in multiple screens so that way it doesn't like distract me too much, inshallah, or bother me too much, inshallah. But essentially, let me actually give myself a water break. One moment.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Jazakumullahu Khairan Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. So what I show here is like essentially like a secret as to how I try to like apply or like try to really think of not like a philosophy or I mean the theology, not like a theology, but more like a philosophy of how I try to like approach things in an academic setting and like research, etc. So what I do is, and yeah, what I do is essentially like as like a scientific researcher. And so like let's say this was for your case, right? In order to study, like be a practicing physician, like, inshallah, what you need to do is, you know, like investigate which medical schools you like, which fields within, you know, medicine you would want to study and specialize in. And likewise, as you're in undergrad, like which courses matter most to you and what to, inshallah, maximize your GPA. So like investigation for me though, as like a researcher is like, you know, looking into the data, like literature analysis, and then thereby seeing like the loopholes and limitations and what I can actually apply for my research. So there's that about like investigation. I have like innovation as a toolkit in the sense of like what and it's not like meant to discuss like bid'ah, like religious innovation, but more so like innovation in academia and technology and in STEM. So like those are like my visions in the sense of like how can I change the narrative in the sense of like what we see of today. So let's say cancer patients, for example, medulloblastoma, which is like a pediatric or child malignant tumor. Typically, they have like a prognosis of 14 to 16 or 18 months to live. It's usually like 12 to 16 months, subhanAllah, or even 12, 18 months to live. And so what can we do to change that? It's all always by Allah's will, of course, but what can we do to change the situation for the better, inshallah? And so what I do as well with this in mind, and you'll notice they all start with eyes, is that integration comes following or subsequently in a sense of like integrating my knowledge in different fields. So you're studying biology and psychology, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Alhamdulillah. So like you'll notice that especially if you take like human anatomy, you'll look into parts that are related to like the cerebral cortex, like neuroscience and stuff like that. They'll really like merge psychology and biology together pretty much. So by like, you know, learning to integrate your knowledge into like different modes of life will really be beneficial and advantageous, especially like for med school, because you want to show yourself as an integrated person, and you know being able to apply and connect the dots between different fields. The fourth point is implications, and that refers to like the application or the conclusions or context of what my research can bring to the table. And so that's very important because that's where like even scientific grants come in and showing like the role and importance of your research. Likewise for medicine, like when you apply for medical school, there's an autobiographical sketch where you talk about like your like awards, accomplishments, etc., what you've done, you know, to benefit humanity, inshallah. And that shows and that implies how you would be a successful candidate for medicine or medical school. And inshallah, a great, amazing, superb medical physician. So inshallah, with this, that's something that's what I do in academia. Now, something to point out is that there's something missing here. And what it is like, can you guess another eye that's missing from this colorful box?
Is it Islam?
MashaAllah, you're right. You're right. And so that's something that I really, really try to put in the forefront of my mind. And I know it sounds like maybe cliche, but in reality, it's like sometimes even in the context of where you work, live, study, it becomes hard to implement all of these with Islam unless you're sincere. Of course, I'm not being blind to the fact that Islam is like a balanced religion in the sense that it allows you to do things with hikmah, and importantly, use Islam as a holistic way of life. But sometimes people don't think of it like that, and people undermine, the importance of Islam in their day-to-day lives. And so that's what I want to actually, if you could like remove everything else that I said, the important point I wanted to highlight is that Islam is the cornerstone of everything that I try to do, inshallah ta'ala, going forward, and from the past as well, inshallah. So likewise for yourself, Sister Nusrat, we want to put Islam at the forefront of everything that we do, and this is how we do it, kind of like an I-5.
I think
So I'm gonna go a bit quick, inshallah, because I know it's almost 3. But inshallah, here's the point that I wanted to highlight. Like I've been, alhamdulillah, in different places, at Kids. This is Hamid Hall, in case you're wondering. This is in the US. Actually, these 5 are in the US, in Washington. And this is like the presentation that I did with the Nova Fertility on like COVID, like at the beginning, like in February 2020, I think. Was it 2020 or 2019? 2020, I think. 2020, subhanAllah. But essentially, what I noticed as like something to highlight in terms of Islam and its importance is that, like people, when they're so focused, and as you saw, like they're so like driven to pursue academics alone, you'll find them either like low in their iman because they may not be like passionate or appreciative of their deen in their lives, or like of course you'll find some that of course are very passionate in both realms, or actually Islam as a holistic way of their life. But what I've noticed, especially in like the conference that I attended in Washington, so this was in Washington D.C. It was a conference for cell biologists, and what you find, or what I saw, was that there was a limited number of like Muslims, like visible Muslims that I could see in the scientific community. And I thought, subhanallah, like what an opportunity to make a difference, to solve this problem. And so I'm going a bit quick, but essentially, I met this brother, his name is Fadl, and mashallah, we met the same day we gave da'wah to this guy here. And essentially, subhanallah, like within an hour from not believing in God, he believed in one creator. And that's only from Allah, subhanallah. But alhamdulillah, I was so happy. And working with Fadl, we have this similar mission in like trying to solve this problem, and hopefully you can see it. But essentially it says that there is a void of Muslims in the intellectual space. And I'm not, of course, there are many intellectual Muslims out there, but there are some that don't want to identify themselves as Muslims or being, Islamically driven. And that's a problem. That's really a problem. And that's what I want to highlight, the importance of Islamic intellectualism, meaning that you're not only like connecting yourself with academia, or learning about, building your academic or worldly knowledge, but importantly, fostering that within Islam. So building your Islamic knowledge, but also your intellectual knowledge, and connecting the two, kind of like integrating, as mentioned in the previous 2 slides. So the problem calls for the international problem, because I noticed this in the US and in Canada, calls for an international solution. And so while it looks at a start like as a pilot project, my goal is inshallah to make this an international community, Ummah, inshallah. And so that is involved with different opportunities in this group chat. And hopefully the video will play itself. No, it's not playing. SubhanAllah. Give me one moment. Oh my God. One moment. No, playing. I'll pause this. I'll come out of the screen. Or actually, I think we'll play here. Alhamdulillah. There we go. So now it's gonna play. So essentially, it's our golden age, as a name that was voted by like folks in the community. And what we'll notice is that it's a playing. It's not playing. Allah. Okay, if it can't go forward, I'll just briefly discuss it, Sister Nusrat. So essentially, there's like different group chats, and you'll see them in a following slide with QR codes. Not the following, but one in the following few slides, discussing like connecting Muslim brothers and sisters in group chats that are related to their fields. So that includes academia or education, finances, medicine, pharmacy, sports, etc. And so they all aim to have like these different opportunities, job offers, mentorship, career tips, events. Inshallah, the OGA or our golden age can foster Islamic boosts like reminders and like tips from an Islamic perspective to boost yourself, inshallah, iman, as well as networking and career opportunities. And of course, intellectual advocacy, because we want to be ambassadors of the deen, as we know that we are amongst the best of nations, or we are the best of nations by doing good and forbidding evil. And that means, and believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala importantly as well. So with that, inshallah, I'm gonna move to the following slide. I'll try to be very quick, inshallah, but essentially, through Islam as a holistic approach, we're gonna move from my goal in terms of progression is that we're moving from an intellectual mindset of like focusing on the individual person. So let's say yourself, Nusrat, and how like I could achieve, let's say how you can achieve, getting to med school and becoming a gynecologist or a specialist in OBGYN. And inshallah, by that, it will help stimulate career development for yourself and also for others, because you'll know different fields and know different positions in specific fields like your own, and inshallah work in a nice like hospital, and so you'll get to know more people, and that helps to not only build the career of yourself but also your family members, those that are aspiring in your field or in medicine in general, and that helps to build the community overall. So let's say if you're in Scarborough or in the GTA, and mashallah, I'll be very honest, becoming a Muslim gynecologist is something of superb value in the West, but also in the Middle East and other countries as well, because we definitely need sisters that will be able to treat other sisters, know what other sisters go through, and what better way to have a Muslim sister being in charge of that, inshallah ta'ala. So that's something I'm very passionate, by the way, of your aspirations. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow you to achieve all of them. And then the last point is going to the globe, right? So by, developing multiple communities will, inshallah ta'ala, throughout the world be able to help develop the globe, inshallah, through Islam in all of these facets, and inshallah return to the golden age. And so here's a brief overview of like the QR codes that I was mentioning earlier. So Sister Nusrat, if you'd like to join any of them, this is an opportunity to take some screenshots, inshallah ta'ala.
I think you sent the slides in the group chat, right?
I did, yeah. So if you want to do it in the group chat too, that's also okay. I know it's also 301, but inshallah I should be done by 306 or 305, inshallah. Is that okay, by the way?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
I took up some time too.
No worries. So there's that, like these are present fields that we have so far, but or group chats that we have so far. But if you're interested in joining, or if you think there's a group chat that we're missing, please let me know, inshallah, so that way we can broaden the scope of Islamic intellectualism together, inshallah. And I'd be more than happy to make you an admin of it, inshallah. Especially as a sister, because obviously you want to have sisters connected with each other, inshallah. But I was gonna say the second last slide here we have is like questions as what you can do as a community member, as a Muslim sister as well, is that like perhaps to share this with your friends and networks, people that maybe if you're inspired maybe, friends that would also be inspired by this, because at the end of the day, I'm not trying to do this like for to be a show off, or even being like, I'm actually trying to move from selfishness to selflessness, to essentially like give back to the community, even at this time where I'm not in medical school, but I can inshallah benefit each and every one of you that would inshallah listen to this recording. But inshallah, that's one way to do it. So to share and spread the news, inshallah, of this network, as well as if you're interested to become an admin or mentor or mentee or anyone in the community, or in any of the group chats, feel free to let me know, or you could fill in or scan the first form that we sent in the group chat earlier, but you could just scan it here as well. As you know, Sister Nusrat, like, we'll have bi-weekly meetups, inshallah, will be virtual for the time being, because it's obviously with people that are international, it'll be hard to have in-person only events. Perhaps hybrids, inshallah, but something to keep in mind for the future, just to be attentive bi-weekly if you can, inshallah. And usually they're like, even though I save 2 hours from 3 to 5 p.m. on Sundays, usually they're like an hour and a half, at least last week. So alhamdulillah, if you can attend, that'd be great, right? So inshallah, it's like 2 hours every 2 weeks. So if you can come, that'd be really appreciated. Or to continue coming, that'd be really appreciated, inshallah ta'ala. Yeah. Sorry?
You're not sure if the next one is next week or the week after, right?
Yeah, I'm thinking, I was planning to ask Brother Fadil to talk about his research, because it's related to like medical biophysics or biophysics in general, and I wanted to see, like, because he has similar passions, what he could discuss with others and have another person speak during the hour of our like next week's session, inshallah, for at least an hour. And then what I was gonna do following that is to, inshallah, and this is just tentative right now, but I'm hoping to essentially open the door for applications for those that want to become a director, or a mentor or mentee, inshallah, through Google Forms, inshallah. But that's tentative right now, because I'm actually very tight with my schedule for the upcoming weeks. But inshallah, we'll see how that goes. But I'll keep everyone up to date, and inshallah, you'll know as well, Sister Nusrat. And the second last 2 points on this slide, second last slide, is like, if you have any opportunities or career tips or an event ideas, please let me know. You can either send in a group chat or let me know directly. And likewise for any questions or ideas, general. Maybe like you think in terms of even feedback, you can planning to send a feedback form, but let's say you think like I'm going too quick, or maybe it's too redundant, or maybe there's something that we're missing to talk about, like in something that you think is really important for Muslims to develop, and you may have gained a lot of benefit from that. That's why you want to share with others, and you find it very imperative and notable for others to consider. So feel free to let me know, inshallah, for that. Lastly, Jazakumullahu Khairan for attending. I really, really appreciate it, particularly Sister Nusrat. And so if you have any questions, these are my contacts, socials, only LinkedIn, and like WhatsApp, Telegram. Those are like my other nuanced connections. And so inshallah, if at any time you have any questions, let me know, inshallah ta'ala. Jazakumullahu Khairan, Sister Nusrat, for coming.
Jazakallah Khairan for holding the review.
Oh yeah.